Fantasy Philosophers is brought to you by fantasy-info.com.
By October of last season, I was screaming to hope that the Panthers would go ahead and put Matt Moore into the lineup and chuck Jake Delhomme out of there so that Steve Smith, one guy that was really hurting fantasy because, he was a top 10, top, 12 type receiver in fantasy. He was having a horrible start to the year, and really it was because of Jake Delhomme. All of a sudden, Jake finally gets an injury because John Fox wouldn't just bench him. Gets an injury and misses pretty much, misses the rest of the season. And Matt Moore gets in, and Matt Moore looks really good. We saw him a couple years before have some success with the team after Jake Delhomme got injured and David Carr was a horrible failure. Matt Moore came in and had some production there. And this last year, he really did well. He put together wins against teams like the Giants in their last game at home in the Meadowlands. They beat the Vikings on national television. So these are some big games that they won. They actually played very competitively close with New England in New England. And yeah, they beat the New Orleans Saints, but they were really holding out a lot of their key players, so it's really hard to say that. Matt Moore, what else can I say? I mean, the guy had 8 touchdowns, 2 picks in his time that he was starting. He had over 1,000 yards, and he had a 98.5 quarterback rating, which is really good. And he did that, remember, without both of his tackles and Jeff Otah and Jordan Gross. I mean, he didn't even have those guys there. They were injured now for the season as well. And he made Steve Smith a viable a great fantasy option again, as he was scoring touchdowns just about every week towards the end before he broke that arm week 16. But for a guy like Moore, I really like him. I like the fact that they picked up some guys. I think I want to say Armani Edwards and definitely Brandon LaFell. I like him a lot as a guy coming on as a rookie here from LSU. I also think that Matt Moore is going to bring guys out of the woodshed like Dwayne Jarrett, probably even Dante Rosario. Even a guy like Dwayne Jarrett, I've seen him make some strides. I think he had a good game that Week 17 game when Steve Smith went down. He had a chance to finally start. What you got to remember with the Carolina Panthers is John Fox is an extreme loyalist to veterans. We saw that with Jake Delhomme, and we saw that with Muhsin Muhammad, 38-year-old veteran or whatever age he was. He's upper 30s, continued to start, and they wouldn't let Jarrett on the field. And all of a sudden, I see some of these young kids, finally, when they do get on the field, they start producing. And it's like, wow, why didn't you just let the young guys go out there when the other guys weren't getting it done? Anyway, to beat that in the ground any more than I need to, but with Dwayne, I could see him even putting out some value this year. He's a sleeper, obviously a dark horse sleeper. In this offense with this team, remember the Carolina Panthers this season have the second easiest schedule to pass against in the NFL. So that can only help a guy like Matt Moore. True, they did draft Jimmy Clausen, but he's future. And again, this is probably one of those areas where it helps that John Fox is such a loyalist to veterans, because he's going to go with Matt Moore, probably going to go with Dwayne Jarrett as the 2 slot over a guy like Brandon LaFell, because that's how he does it, and probably that's how it should be this year. So look for the Panthers and look for Matt Moore as a very nice sleeper quarterback. I'd say the 3 main quarterbacks I've got for sleepers this year, obviously you got Kevin Kolb. That's a guy everybody's talking about. Joe Flacco's getting a lot of talk. Not getting a ton of talk about Matt Moore. This is a guy that if you get into those later rounds, this is a guy you could pick up, and he could be a very nice backup for your fantasy team this year and give you some nice day. Consider Moore as you're getting later in the drafts and you need that second quarterback on your team to help you and be a productive, nice backup for your team this season.
For more fantasy football information, go to fantasy-info.com and sign up for our free e-newsletter. Good luck in your 2010 Fantasy Football League. As an added bonus, the Fantasy Info guys will include their 5 secret tips for success in fantasy football with your free subscription.